Welcome to the Social Business Engine podcast, where today's thought leaders discuss how they're using the latest social media strategies and technologies in marketing, sales, customer service, and HR. Get ready to be inspired as our guests contribute to your digital transformation through their stories, knowledge, and insights into what works in today's digitally connected world. And now, here's Bernie Borges, your host of the Social Business Engine podcast.
Hey there, welcome to episode 216. This is Bernie Borges, CMO of Vengresso and host of the Social Business Engine podcast. Hey, thanks for listening. My guest on this episode is a combo team that's comprised of Bill Quirk, Strategic Account Manager at Work4Labs, and Robert Constantine, Director of Digital and Social Media Marketing at iQor. Now, on this episode, you're going to hear how iQor, a global company that has a need to staff up quickly in call centers and customer care centers around the globe, has partnered with Work4Labs to source talent at scale using Facebook lead ads. You're going to hear all about the method that they're using and the impressive results that they're experiencing by applying digital marketing best practices to talent recruiting. Now, even if recruiting employees isn't something that's on your plate, you can expect to hear relevant ideas that you might be able to apply to your digital strategy. Now, before we transition to my conversation with Bill Quirk and Robert Constantine, I want to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Frost & Sullivan. Vengresso is proud to partner with Frost & Sullivan on the 19th annual Marketing Executive Mind Exchange event, Marketing Impact 2025. Join us on July 16th through the 18th, 2018 in Nashville, Tennessee to mix and mingle with forward-thinking marketing executives. Now, as an event partner, we're excited to extend a $250 savings to all Vengresso subscribers. Just visit frost.com/MAR, M-A-R, and then use the code VENGRESSO, V-E-N-G-R-E-S-O, at registration. Now, don't worry, we're going to link that up in our show notes at vengresso.com/podcast, episode 216. All right, let's get to my conversation with Bill Quirk, Strategic Account Manager at Work4Labs, and Robert Constantine, Director of Digital and Social Media Marketing at iQor. Bill and Robert, welcome to the Social Business Engine podcast.
Hi, Bernie. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, Bernie, hi. Good to be here.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I don't get to do this very often where I've got not one guest, but two guests on my podcast. So let's have some fun with this. Bill, why don't we open up with you and let's start with an introduction from you of your company, Work4Labs. Who is Work4Labs? And of course, what is your role there?
Okay, so Work4Labs, we like to describe ourselves as the global leader in social recruiting. We were founded in 2010. We have offices in Paris, San Francisco, and Austin. So we are literally worldwide. And our mission is to help employers attract and engage with potential employees using social media. We're really focused on Facebook. A lot of times when you think about recruiting and social media, obviously people think about LinkedIn, but we're really focused on Facebook. We think it can be a goldmine for employers to find talent, especially when you consider that a lot of potential employees, like in call centers or truck drivers, they're not even going to be on LinkedIn. And my role here is a strategic account manager. I work with a lot of our larger clients, especially in the Fortune 500, to make sure that our strategies and solutions are meeting their needs.
Fantastic. Very well done, Bill. It sounds like you've said that before because you got it.
Yeah, I've got the elevator pitch down for sure.
You do. Well, we're going to come back to much of what you said. So, Robert, I know that we recently had an executive from iQor on the podcast, but for the listener who perhaps didn't catch that episode or perhaps doesn't remember, why don't you start with a refresher on who is iQor and your role at the company?
Thanks, Bernie. iQor is the only global managed services provider embedded in the flow between product, people, and services from the point of customer acquisition to sustainable recycling. We've got 45,000 employees in 18 countries, and we partner with many of the world's best-known brands to deliver aftermarket product, customer support solutions that span the customer value chain. And my role at the company, I'm Director of Social Media and Digital Marketing. I oversee all of our social media channels from sales to employee engagement and digital recruiting.
Fantastic. Well, likewise, Robert, it sounds like you've got that elevator pitch down pat. So let's get to what we want to discuss here today. And that is how Work4Labs is doing social recruiting specifically at iQor. I think this is kind of a unique episode in that it's kind of a case study, right? We've got two brands here. We've got Work for Labs. We've got iQor. iQor is a client of Work for Labs. One of the things you mentioned, Robert, in your introduction and your description of iQor is that you've got 45,000 employees. That is no small feat in finding and recruiting those employees. So why did you turn to Work for Labs? Kind of what was the reasoning for that and what's that been like?
The main reason why we turned to Work for Labs was our workforce was changing. So the workforce was becoming more digitally savvy. They were engaged on social media channels and they were essentially kind of living their lives in a lot of different ways, whether that be through transactions, posting updates, all the things that we do today. That's really where we needed to play from a recruiting perspective. And we needed to do that on a global scale. And Work for Labs was a company that came across from some research that we were doing, looking for the right partner. And in doing so, we were able to start a conversation, and they checked quite a few boxes for us in terms of what we were looking for, not only from a partner, but from a platform perspective to be able to cover across the globe.
Fantastic. Well, Bill, I think it's a great segue back to you now that we've heard Robert talk about the need at iQor to recruit at scale. And you said in your introduction, Bill, that you've discovered that Facebook is really a kind of a magical platform, my words, not your words, for recruiting. So why don't you elaborate on that in the context of the plan that you've developed and implemented for social recruiting at iQor?
So yeah, I would agree that it can be magical. The words that I use for Facebook when it comes to recruiting is it can be a goldmine. When you think about the audience on Facebook, it's unparalleled. 2 billion active users. In the United States alone, there's 180 million active users who log into Facebook every single day. So that's an audience that's basically as large as who watches the Super Bowl each year. So whoever you're trying to reach, you can most likely find them on Facebook. When iQor came to us, obviously they had needs to staff their call centers. So we put together a plan using targeted Facebook ads to get their job opportunities in front of the right people at the right time. A lot of clients come to Work4 because of our targeting expertise. We've run tens of thousands of recruiting ads on Facebook. So we've actually developed custom audiences that we've saved that we can repurpose whenever new campaigns come along. And we've also developed patented technology that can literally read a job description and help set up the targeting so that the job is going to find the right people at the right time. So we started, with a targeted Facebook campaign approach for iQor. One of the things that Robert and iQor really challenged us with in the beginning, which was exciting, was that they really wanted to get leads. Robert wanted to, focus on more of a traditional marketing approach for these candidates to get them in the door and then nurture them to a full apply, which was somewhat different than what a lot of our clients had been looking for in the past. A lot of our clients wanted us to deliver clicks and, send candidates to a career site where they could then do a full apply. But realistically, that's kind of a big ask for the candidate because a few seconds ago they were on Facebook and now they're facing a 10 to 15 minute apply process where they might be asked for their resume and it might not even be a mobile friendly experience. So Robert really wanted us to focus on delivering leads that they could nurture. This was back in January of 2016. And at that time, Facebook lead ads were really a brand new thing. Facebook had just released them in November of 2015. But we felt like it was a perfect strategy for us to combine our targeting with the lead ad approach and then be able to deliver iQor exactly what they were looking for as far as candidates that they could nurture, bring into a full apply.
Cool. That's a great overview. Now, Bill, you mentioned that the Facebook lead ads had just come into play here. So is that to say that that was the primary part of the strategy? And Robert, chime in here, if that was part of your discussion with Bill, because I'm really intrigued about the fact that you guys used Facebook lead ads for social recruiting.
So, back in 2015 and prior to that, most Facebook advertising campaigns, recruiting or any other vertical were really focused on clicks. Everything was about how many clicks can you get, how low of a cost per click can you get, which for, some industries that makes sense. You're just trying to drive awareness and get people to your websites and maybe they can purchase a product or, look at your offering. But in the recruiting space, it's really starting to transition to let's get leads, let's get people names and information about the people so that we can start to nurture them. And Robert was really the first client who came to us with this more sophisticated marketing approach, I would say, where they really wanted to just get the leads and then start nurturing them rather than hoping people would go through a full apply on their career site.
And Bernie, I think the reason for that is that the call center space is somewhat unique in the sense that it's an existing program or it's a new launch. The clock is ticking and you've got certain milestones that you need to hit, not only from an applicant to hire ratio perspective, but then, getting people through the process of actually hiring them, which it can vary by client based on certain tests and so forth that they need to pass. And then once they get past that, then they're going into training, then there's a nesting phase, and then ultimately they're getting into production. So the need for us was to identify people very quickly.
Interesting. So, Robert, I'm hearing you use vernacular that is absolutely in your wheelhouse because it sounds like digital marketing strategy. So it sounds to me like you just took that digital marketing strategic approach to social recruiting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Bill was an excellent partner in all of this and continues to be so. And, we continue to push the boundaries, which I think we'll touch on in a little bit in terms of where we're looking to take this.
Okay, terrific. So, Bill, how is this plan that you've been implementing at iQor? Is this a common approach or is this unique and different than other social recruiting plans for other clients that you work with?
So, great question, Bernie. So when we first started this with iQor, it was really the first of its kind. We had tried different campaigns that were kind of similar to this in the past, but never really with the scale and approach that we did with iQor. Since then, this has actually become one of our core approaches. We've got dozens of clients who have started using this strategy. I think that's a reflection that there's also been a change in the recruiting space. With unemployment now, below 5%, employers are much more open to getting leads in the door and then trying to nurture them into a full apply. So it was definitely a benchmark example for us with iQor that this is a strategy that could be highly effective. And now we've rolled it out to dozens of clients and had great success with it.
Fantastic. Wow. Fascinating. So next I want to talk about the kind of results that you've been experiencing. But first I want to pause briefly for a message from our sponsor, Frost & Sullivan. Vengresso is proud to be a partner with Frost & Sullivan on the 19th annual Marketing Executive Mind Exchange event, Marketing Impact 2025. We'll be moderating a think tank discussion that's focused on creating a consistent omni-channel customer journey. I'm personally looking forward to the interactive and collaborative PowerPoint-free event to brainstorm, benchmark, and generate action plans with fellow marketing leaders across various industries. I encourage you to join us at Marketing Impact 2025, July 16th through the 18th, 2018, in Nashville, Tennessee, to mix and mingle with forward-thinking marketing executives and thought leaders. As an event partner, we're excited to extend a $250 savings to all Vengresso subscribers. Just visit frost.com/MAR, that's M-A-R, and use discount code Vengresso at registration. Hey, I look forward to seeing you in Nashville. All right, so let's get into some results. Bill, we'll start with you. What kind of results have you been seeing from your program at iQor?
Awesome question. So since we started this program, the focus has been on leads. And to date, we've delivered just over 52,000 leads to iQor. These are people who are interested in coming to work for iQor and working in their call centers. The, average cost per lead on these candidates has been around $3. In some cases, it's been even below $1. We're advertising for iQor globally. So there are some markets like Trinidad and the Philippines where we're able to get a really, really, really low cost per lead. And one thing that Work4 prides ourselves on too is that we deliver exclusive candidates. These are candidates that you're not going to find on a job board because they're not actively looking on job boards. But if a job is presented to them in a compelling way, like with a Facebook ad, they'll become interested in learning more about that opportunity. So, about 70% of the candidates we deliver are considered exclusive and candidates that you're not going to find on other sources like job boards. And Robert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe your numbers show that Facebook is now your number 2 source of applicants, coming in just behind employee referrals.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been an amazing platform for us.
Fantastic. I did not know about the exclusive candidates. These are candidates that are not on job boards.
Yeah, in the recruiting world, there's 2 words that are often used to describe candidates. You've got your active candidates. This is someone who is on the job board day in and day out, and they're looking for a job, and they might be applying to 20 jobs per day. They're very, very, very active. But then you have your passive candidates who have a job presently, but they'd be interested in learning about a new opportunity if it came along. So they're not spending, hours or days looking on the job boards, but they're definitely open to a potential opportunity. And again, when you think about the low employment today, there's probably many more people that fall into that passive category than the active category. So that's where the strategy of publishing jobs onto Facebook really comes into play, because you're going to get your jobs in front of those passive candidates who aren't spending their time on the job boards.
Interesting. Robert, from your perspective, Bill obviously just shared a bunch of numbers. Is there anything that you can add in terms of the results that you've been experiencing partnering with Work for Labs?
Well, I think speed is something it's hard to measure, but we get on the global marketing team, we get requests from all over the globe where there's a particular need for a new program ramp or just new candidates. And the speed at which we can turn programs on and deliver the velocity of candidates that we can deliver to a particular group is really, to me, what I think is really noteworthy. So it's kind of hard to quantify, but that's one of the things that really stands out to me is the speed at which Work for Labs has been able to deliver candidates.
So what that really brings to mind is sort of a contrast, because, iQor is not a new company. You've been in business for several years, but the Facebook leads thing has only been around a few years. So how does this methodology compare and contrast to the way that you would ramp up new programs in years past?
Well, in years past, it was job boards, it was job fairs, it was fairly labor intensive where, we would go out to local colleges, technical universities, places like that. And, somebody would have to set up a table and sit for a number of hours. With the click of a button now, I can reach people on a variety of levels based on various criteria, as well as using the algorithms that are proprietary to Work for Labs.
And Bill, are you guys in business development kind of shooting fish in a barrel? I mean, are you in a scenario with such low unemployment and this methodology being so effective that, it's an easy program to pitch and win business?
I would say in a lot of cases, yes. It does take an employer who, is open-minded and willing to pursue a strategy like this. There's still a lot of employers who really, really want their applicants to go through a full apply on their career site. And in some cases, there's legal reasons for that. They want to make sure that the candidates are going through and not being screened out for any type of reason that might get them into legal trouble. So that's understandable. But if we have a client who, is open to receiving leads and approaching them, with a marketing strategy, then it's a perfect fit for this type of solution.
Okay. So let's talk about where we see this headed. So, Bill, I'd like to start with you in terms of both iQor and in general. Where do you see things headed? We're recording this podcast right in the middle of 2018. And you mentioned earlier in the conversation that the Facebook leads approach has really begun to kind of take off for you guys. So what's next? Where do you see it going?
So as far as with iQor, I'm hoping that we can continue working together as partners and growing the relationship. They have call centers all over the world and we're servicing a lot of them right now, but we'd still like to grow and service all of them, obviously. Something new on Facebook is Facebook Marketplace, which if you're not familiar with that, it's very similar to Craigslist. And late in 2017, they added a job section, which is kind of the first big push by Facebook to really get into the job space. Work4 actually has been partnering with them. We're an official partner with Facebook. And our team, our engineers have a weekly call with their engineers discussing how to improve the job board. So I see Facebook starting to move more and more in the direction of, offering services and solutions that really are going to, address recruiting needs. When Microsoft made the big acquisition of LinkedIn, I think it kind of opened Facebook eyes to the idea that, maybe they should get into the recruiting space as well. So I think you're going to start to see Facebook really innovate when it comes to the recruiting space, and Marketplace is a good example of them taking that step forward.
And you say that Work for Labs is partnering with Facebook on Facebook Marketplace.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. Yeah, we're an official partner with them. When they first launched the job section, they actually invited 5 third-party vendors to come in and help them with it, if you will. And Work for Labs is one of the vendors that was invited in. So from day one, we've been working with them to improve it, offer suggestions, and we've actually been building integrations to Marketplace that we can, help our clients get their jobs on there and get leads from Marketplace as well.
And Bernie, I would just add that, we've also worked closely with Work for Labs on utilizing HubSpot, which is our marketing automation tool. We partnered with Work for Labs and they built an API that essentially is pushing leads. Initially, what would happen is you'd get a lead would go to the Facebook page. Those leads would then have to be downloaded via CSV file or some file format. And we've now automated that process, as well as now all of the leads are going into our HubSpot automation tool, and we're able to nurture those leads. So if somebody isn't selected for a position the first time around, we can stay connected to that individual, and should the need arise, reach out to them and possibly hire them the second time around.
Nice. I mean, it's true digital marketing, except instead of going after a sale, you're going after recruiting talent. Love it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been great.
Fantastic. All right, guys. Well, we are at a point in the podcast episode where I am going to summarize the key topics, key things we discussed, and then I'm going to ask both of you to either fill in any holes, or if I jog your memory on a point that you want to make, it's a great opportunity to make that point, and then we'll bring this episode to a wrap. Of course, we began our conversation with introductions to both of your companies. Bill worked for Labs, a global leader in social recruiting in business since 2010, really focused on attracting and retaining employees for clients using social media with a focus on Facebook. You mentioned that Facebook is a gold mine where you can find talent, and you are a strategic account manager there, working with global brands, helping them attract the talent that they need. And Robert, we of course got the reintroduction to iQor. You're a global services provider where you really help brands by delivering an integrated solution that spans the entire customer journey, like customer care and tech support. You work with top brands across the world, and you've got 45,000 employees across 18 countries. And your role at the company is Director of Social Media and Digital Marketing. And so we really got into the discussion of why iQor is partnering with Work for Labs for staffing. And that is because the whole workforce is really changing. The way people look for jobs or engage in general, they're very digitally savvy. They're living their lives on social. And of course, with Facebook being 2 billion people across the globe and 180 million in the US alone, you can pretty much find anywhere or anyone you want pretty much on Facebook. And those are, I think, your words, Bill. You can pretty much find anybody there. And of course, Robert, you guys at iQor have a need to recruit on a global scale. And you did some research. You found Work for Labs. And basically, Bill, you guys came up with a very unique program for iQor to help them staff their call centers. You came up with an ad creation campaign that's really a Facebook-focused campaign on leads using the Facebook leads feature. So instead of just clicking through to a form to fill out, it's more of a lead, a traditional marketing lead that iQor then can nurture and maintain contact with an individual, whether it's for the immediate opening or for perhaps an opening down the road. And Robert, you described that in your world, the call center space is pretty different because when a project happens, it has to get staffed up quickly. And as you said, the clock is ticking on the applicant to hire ratio. So you've got to not only find them, but you've got to hire them, train them. You use the phrase nesting and then get them into production. So the Facebook leads program through Work for Labs was, again, kind of a first of its kind at Work for Labs and really allowed you to get going quickly. And some of the results that you shared is that Work for Labs has generated over 52,000 leads for iQor. And again, we're talking about employee leads here. The cost per lead, the average cost per lead was about $3. And Bill, you said some were even below $1 as a cost per lead. It's very impressive. And that you're delivering candidates who are exclusive. They're not on job boards. You mentioned that about 70% of them are really considered to be exclusive. Again, not actively looking. You mentioned some can be passive, but most are not actively looking. And it's really this method has become the number 2 source of applicants at iQor behind employee referrals. And then, Robert, you mentioned that in addition to the metrics, some of the results from your perspective is that it really allows you to be responsive as requests for hiring comes along with new programs and the whole speed of turning it on and doing the social recruiting in a way that can really recruit talent at scale, especially when you compare it to years past when you use job boards and college recruiting. And like you said, Robert, showing up at a college recruiting event, staffing a table, a very different, slower, and also kind of a heavier lift approach to recruiting talent. And in terms of what's next, Bill, you mentioned that, of course, you want to continue to work with iQor and helping them staff their call centers around the world and how you've really partnered. You're one of 5 companies that have partnered with Facebook in their new marketplace offering, which is kind of like a Craigslist with a job list function. And so you're building integrations into the Facebook marketplace to really enable brands to tap into that feature function within the Facebook marketplace for recruiting. And Robert, you mentioned that you're going to continue to work closely with Work for Labs. They've already already provided integration into HubSpot, which really helps you take a digital marketing approach to your social recruiting. So as you get these leads into your social recruiting program, they literally flow into your HubSpot automation tool, and it allows you to really stay connected with them, nurture them, and build relationships with them as you would in traditional digital marketing for, prospects that you're really trying to ultimately sell to. The difference here is that they're not customers, they're prospective candidates. So gentlemen, that is my summary. Is there anything that either or both of you would like to add?
I think you summed it up really, really well. We do have a case study about our relationship with iQor on our website, which is workforlabs.com. It's number 4 is in the middle of that. So workforlabs.com, and you can read the case study about iQor. Robert?
Yeah, the only thing I would add that was close to something that Bill and I have been working on recently has been, we're working very hard to get performance data on people that we hire back into the targeting aspect of our campaigns. So we know who's performing, who's not performing. We can essentially take that information, provide it to Bill. Bill can then create what's called lookalike audiences. And then, essentially the goal is, because it's fairly new, is to reduce the applicant to hire ratio or bring it more to a 1-to-1 ultimately. And, create environments that just have, just an incredible amount of talented people that are producing at a very high level.
To me, it's fascinating that you're applying these principles and these terminologies that are marketing terminologies to the hiring process. And it really, I hate to sound cliche-ish, guys, but it just reminds me that this is about digital transformation. It's just an element of digital transformation that is in the recruiting area of our business.
We're smart guys, Bernie.
That's obvious. And I'm pretty smart because I invited you guys to this podcast so we can share your smartness with my global audience.
It's great.
Where would you like to send my listener to connect with both of you online to, again, connect with you and learn more about what you've got going on?
Well, like I mentioned before, you can find our case study on our website, workforlabs.com. If you'd like to connect with me personally, I'm on LinkedIn, obviously, and my profile name there is Quirk Bill. That's QUIRKBILL. And I'm on Twitter at BillWork4.
I just direct people to iQor.com. Check out our blog. A lot of interesting things on IoT, connected home, where we're taking the company. And feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Robert Allen Constantine.
Fantastic. And my listener knows that all that will be linked up in our show notes for my mobile listener, iQor spelled IQOR. But again, all that's going to be linked up in our show notes page at vengresso.com. Well, Bill and Robert, thank you so much for joining me here today on this episode of the Social Business Engine podcast.
Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you, Bernie.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed my conversation with Bill Quirk, Strategic Account Manager at Work4Labs, and Robert Constantine, Director of Digital and Social Media Marketing at iQor. This has been episode 216, titled Social Recruiting at Scale with Facebook Lead Ads. Now, my one big takeaway from my conversation with Bill and Robert is this. As I said earlier, digital transformation is not limited to marketing and sales. Every business needs employees. And as Bill Quirk from Work4Labs points out, you can find a lot of people who aren't actively looking for a job, but they may be open to a new opportunity. All you have to do is create highly targeted ads on Facebook. Now, the real takeaway in this conversation is the lesson in creativity by Robert Constantine by applying digital marketing principles to recruiting. You heard Robert describe how they want to generate leads, and I'm using air quotes around leads, that they can nurture through their marketing automation platform, just like we nurture prospects in the marketing funnel. This kind of creative thinking has led to really impressive results, to the tune of, at a minimum, having an average cost per lead of just $3. Now, in this case, the lead is a viable candidate. So, hey, what is your takeaway from my conversation with Bill Quirk and Robert Constantine? Hey, if you are listening to this episode before July 16th, 2018, there's still time to get yourself registered for Frost & Sullivan's 19th Annual Marketing Impact 2025 event, taking place July 16th through the 18th in Nashville, Tennessee. As an event partner, we're excited to extend a $250 savings to all Vengresso subscribers. Just go to frost.com, that's FROST.com/MAR, M-A-R, and then use discount code VENGRESSO, VENGRESO, at registration. Now, don't worry, we're going to link that up in a show notes page at vengresso.com/podcast, episode 216. And hey, while you're there, be sure to subscribe to get the Social Business Engine podcast delivered to your inbox each and every week. And hey, if you're in sales or you know someone in sales, be sure to subscribe to my partner's podcast, Selling with Social, hosted by Vengresso's CEO, Mario Martinez Jr. I also want to remind you that the Social Business Engine podcast and the Selling with Social podcast are both available at iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and now also Spotify. Be sure to subscribe using your favorite podcast player so that you don't miss an episode. Well, hey, that's a wrap for episode 216. I want to thank my guests once again, Bill Quirk, Strategic Account Manager at Work for Labs, and Robert Constantine, Director of Digital and Social Media Marketing at iQor. This is Bernie Borges, CMO of Vengresso, signing off for now and wishing you continued success on your social business journey.
Thank you for listening to the Social Business Engine podcast. Be sure to tune in again next week to reconnect with Bernie Borges for more insights, inspiration, and practical advice on social business. Visit socialbusinessengine.com to catch even more content on social strategy that will rock your business and your career.